If you guys thought the T83 was cool and a good deal, this is a sister company, and this is hella dope. Hello and welcome everybody. Today I want to talk about this Kemove keyboard that was sent to me from Kemove. Now, even though they sent this to me, I want to let you know that it's not going to affect my critiquing of it, but I do want to also preface this with saying that this was a board I was actually trying to get before they reached out to me to send it to me. I also found out during this process that this keyboard is a sister company to the Daira that we just took a look at, that we built for the Halloween theme board, as well as we took a look at it during the RGB month of October. So this is the Kemove, and it is the, let's see here. That's interesting. So in order to find what it is, we've got to look here on this side. This is the K68. This is a 65% keyboard. I have already busted the tape on it to make it easier to get into it. I found that the packaging is actually quite nice. It's got this little dust cover on it. It does have a little bit of a bow in it. So, but I mean, I feel like it'd still be effective if you wanted to use it. It's just, you know, I think it looks better as far as packaging is concerned rather than practical application. Inside the package, we also get a keycap puller, a switch puller, and a 2.4 gigahertz dongle. And a nice little braided USB cable. So this USB cable does have a 90-degree plug to it, which I find interesting. And then it's got this funky little USB plug on the end. So it looks like you can kind of plug it in either way. So that's very interesting. All right, and then we've got the K68 itself, and of course the manual. So why don't we go ahead and set this other stuff aside, and we'll take a look at the K68 and talk a little bit about it. So here is the K68, and one of the things I wanted to talk about why I wanted this board was the design of it. It is a plastic board. It would be cool if this was aluminum, but I thought this was kind of different. You know, we see all these boards that look rectangular and kind of boring, and this actually, even though it's plastic, it does add a little bit of flair to it with this curvature here, which I find to be pretty neat. And then we've got our dip switches over here to change from wireless to wired, and this also has Mac support. So what is this Kemove K68? Well, it's a 65% keyboard. It's available on Amazon and directly from Kemove. Right now, if you get it from Kemove, it starts at $44.99. They also have like a 2-pack that you can get, so you can get a black and a white one if you would like both, or you want to try both colors. They come with these fantastic low-profile keycaps. They're very similar to the LTC Lavacap rounds that we've used in previous videos, but they're a lower profile. These are actually pretty neat, honestly, in themselves. In addition to that, they come in the Gateron Pro variants for the switches. So you can get silvers, browns, yellows, and reds in these keyboards on both Amazon and on the Kemove website. If you go through Amazon, though, you won't have access to the cherry switches. And if you do go through the Kemove website, you can get these with cherry RGB switches if you prefer that the nylon of cherry on the bottom. So again, this has Mac and Windows support. It does have tri-mode wireless. So you've got a little dip switch here that will allow you to switch between the different modes. So you can go Bluetooth, wired, or wireless. It does have a battery in it. Pretty decent battery too. I couldn't find the specific milliamp hours on it, but without tearing the protector off the top of it, I'm not really able to tell exactly what it is, but it seems pretty hefty, pretty decent sized battery in there, and I'll show that when we go to take it apart here in a few minutes. So as I had stated, I'll go ahead and switch it into 2.4 gigahertz mode here, so you can see that it does have per key RGB, and it has this really cool diffusion strip around the sides. Now, this does have memory support, so this will remember what colors you set it to. So when you change the different modes, it will remember it when you turn it off. One issue that I have though is that on the side stripe here, we've got a red stripe going back and forth. If I turn this off and turn it back to 2.4 gigahertz, we see that it has changed to a rainbow. So while this effect is remembered, that is my one critique, is that it does not remember the lighting on the sides. But yeah, I think the contour and everything of this board looks really neat. It even has your little feet if you prefer, you know, a larger typing angle. And it's very well put together for a plastic board. It really, especially at 50 bucks, this kind of killed my expectations for it, like slaughtered it. Like I expected this to be kind of mediocre, but the fit and finish of this is pretty cool. So why don't I go ahead and tear this down, and we'll take a look at what is required to take it apart. Before I do that, I do want to preface it. So basically the way that you take this apart is there are 4 screws under these little bumper things here. And you pop these out, you take out the 4 screws, and then there are screws around the perimeter. So you'll need to remove your keycaps around the perimeter, and then you'll need to remove the screws around the edge to get this apart. This is a tray mount, top mount design. So once you get those out, the tray mount is disassembled and you can take the board apart. Once you've done that, there are 4 screws that hold the plate to the top part of the case. So let me go ahead and get this taken apart and I'll demonstrate that for you. Alright, so we've got all the screws out that we need to take this apart, and this is actually pretty cool if you think about it, because you don't really have to fight with this too much to get it apart. If you want to do some modifications, or if you plan on using this wired only, it will allow you to remove the battery plug, so that way you can run it full time without having to worry about battery blow. So as you can see, we've removed the 4 plugs from here, and then we've removed the 4 black screws. Flip it back over, and then you only have to take out a few of the keycaps, but you also may need to remove some switches as well in order to get some of these out. I mean, you can work them out, but they're right up against the edges of the switches in these 2 locations. So basically, once you've got that out, there's no clips or anything. The whole thing just kind of comes apart. And then you've got your JST connector with a big ol' honking battery. And like I said, I can't really tell what this is without trying to rip off the shielding. Pretty basic JST connector. As you saw, I just used my fingernails to pop that guy loose. And then we'll set this aside over here. And as you can see here, we've got a pretty solid board. One of the things you're going to want to watch out for are these dip switches. So when you go to reassemble this, you need to make sure that your board is in the same position. So you've got these 2 little buttons here. You need to make sure that they are in the same position as your PCB. And the reason is because you'll break these dip switches off if they're not aligned properly. But this is a pretty neat little board. It's kind of, I don't want to say basic PCB, but what they're using for, I guess their controller and Bluetooth module, they are not part of the board, if that makes sense. They're their own individual modules. So I wonder, if you're really into this hobby, if you could upgrade these over time. Alright, so with that being said, if you want to remove this bezel to get into it further, which you'll have to get to the plate, you're going to take out these 4 screws. I'm not going to do that because I don't feel it's necessary, because this is pretty straightforward. Once you've got that removed, there's a screw here, 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 and here. So there's 4 screws that top mount that plate to the top case. And so that way, if you wanted to remove the mute silicone from it, you could. And yes, it has mute silicone. So let me take out a switch here. So if you see down in there, right down in here, we've got mute silicone. So it is the, the white silicone that you see a lot of manufacturers like Akko and Keychron using these days. And it's very effective. There is no case dampening material inside the case at all. And I really don't feel like it's necessary, because if you see, it's kind of a thin bottom case, so you get a pretty decent sound out of it. So why don't I go ahead and get this reassembled really quick, and we'll go ahead and showcase a sound clip, and I'll come back and talk a little bit about my final thoughts on this board. So I'll see you guys after the sound test. All right, so I thought this sounded pretty good. This pretty good stock experience. Honestly, this is a hard recommend for me at this price point. If you're looking for a budget board, this would easily stomp out like an RK for the same roughly $40-$45 price tag. I think this offers a lot. Would I recommend it at its normal non-sale price? It'd be very tough for me to recommend it, but if you are looking to not have to pay somebody to lube switches and assemble something for you because you're afraid to work on a board, I think that's where the value prop is. So there are some nitpicky things that I want to point out. One of them was something I forgot to mention, which is that this is a north-facing board. So these sockets are north-facing. So if you want to use cherry keycaps with normal switches that do not have long pole or cutouts, you are going to have some interference on the home row. In addition to that, the memory issue with the diffusion around the sides is kind of a bugger for someone like me who switches boards very often. But other than that, those are really my only two gripes about it. These keycaps do come off a little bit easier. I don't know if it's because of the keycap or the switches. They don't fall off, but they're very easy to come off, and I think it's because the stem part of them isn't as long as what we're used to. But I think they feel great. I love the LTC Lavacaps, and these have the exact same vibe. And these are great. They're like some of my favorite budget keycaps. And these have that same feel to them, the same texture, that same white strip that goes around the bottom that allows for this RGB to really pop if that's what you're going for. Really crisp, clear legends, no weird things in like 8s and 9s and S's. They're actually pretty crisp and pretty clear. In addition to that, it's got those curves. It's got that diffusion layer around the outside, which I think is really neat. And I also like the fact that this is cheap enough that I could just throw it in my backpack or in my laptop bag when I'm traveling, and it offers everything that I really need for my laptop. It's even got the little mini dongle for 2.4 gigahertz if I'm gaming on the go, or if I just want Bluetooth and I want to switch between devices, I've got that as an option as well, or I can just run it wired if I like. So it's a pretty good, strong recommend if we're talking $45 to $50 price point. If we're talking $89 to $100, it loses me at that point because there are other options. So do with that what you will. But I think right now at this price point, it's a pretty good deal. If you've been looking for a 65% budget board, or you have a gift that you want to give somebody to get them into the hobby, with the Pro Switch options that are offered, because Pro Switches are pre-lubed, this is a pretty sick deal. So be sure to check out the Kemove website. I've also got an affiliate link in the description to Amazon where you can pick these up for $49, all of them except for the Pro Brown option for some reason. But you can get the silver, yellow, and red for $49.99. You get the 2-day prime shipping because these are in the Amazon warehouses. And it also helps me because I get a little bit of a kickback when you guys buy these, so that way I can continue to bring more boards into the channel. Speaking of that, this is going to be one of the last RGB boards for a little bit. I've got some really cool, more mid-tier, higher-end boards coming up for the month of November and December. And then we'll have some year-end videos and holiday buyer guides and things like that. So stay tuned for those. If you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, be sure to let me know. If not, hit that thumbs down and let me know that you don't want to see any more content like this, and I will be sure to keep that in mind. In addition to that, I have been in the process of upgrading my equipment. I do have some lighting, as you can see. I got to dial that in a little bit, and I did that so that way I could use the lens that I have with this camera, so that way we can get some autofocus action going on, because you guys have been requesting that. So how about that autofocus? So yeah, I am working, I am listening, and I am trying to get this set upgraded, but there is a cost associated to it, and I'm doing my best, and I appreciate you guys' support. If you guys want to support me further, definitely check out that Amazon link. It'll help me, you know, even if you don't buy this and you buy something else, it'll help me out a little bit. And yeah, that's what I've got to say about the K68. You know, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for checking out the K68 with me. I look forward to having you guys come along with me for the next month. I have some boards that I am hella excited about, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that experience with you guys. So again, thank you as always for hanging out with me. And until next time, y'all have a good one.